All right. What's going on? We must be live. Seems like, okay, yeah. Looks like we're live. Good, good, good. All right. Now I've started recording. Okay, welcome to Finish First Financially's live stream Tuesday edition. Wow, Monday went by quickly. So usually I start at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but when I need to attend to my vending machines, which is the business that I run, sometimes I'm a bit late. But I'll work on it. I'll work on it. Eventually get consistent. But that's what brings in the money. So I have to respect it and I have to attend to it when the need arises. So today I want to talk about financial stress. That's something that plagues our society. Yeah, you see it on the roads. That's it's quite evident there when you get out onto the road and you're driving and people are hooting at you for the smallest reason. They're losing their minds, and that's just the weeds popping out. That's not the root cause. The root cause is usually something that's happening at home. They're not satisfied at work, or in many cases they're having financial difficulties. And I can relate to that. Absolutely. Yeah, there were periods I mean, especially when became homeless, but even after I recovered, and then there was like a few months where I'd lose my clients and then I wouldn't have an income. Even though I was debt free and had significant savings, it's not like I was worried about money, but just the fact that I didn't have an income, I was agitated, I was annoyed. I think the biggest problem with it is that you don't know when that income is eventually going to arrive. So it's frustrating. So I completely understand what it's like to be in that situation. And I think if people had to sort out their finances, whatever that may mean to a person, let's say the standard is, excuse me, uh, let's say that means getting out of debt and having significant savings. Let's say that's what sorting out your finances means. And that happens to you. You know, so you want to sort out your finances. Sorry, I lost my track of thought there for a second. And you're not doing it. You're not getting close to getting out of debt and having that significant savings. You start to get agitated along the way. You start to lash out at people for no reason. And well, I mean, there is a reason, but the smallest thing is going to set you off. And I think that if people were to solve their financial situation, so we're saying that means getting out of debt and having significant savings, we would have a lot less anger in society. We would be a lot more pleasant to each other. You would see a lot more people smiling and just really enjoying life. There'll probably be less divorces because money problems is one of the leading causes of divorce. You're constantly stressed about paying your bills at the end of the month. You can't really enjoy life. You can't really enjoy your marriage because maybe you're blaming your partner. You don't think they're contributing as much as they should. They're spending, overspending. And in situations like that, we're always looking for other people to blame. And that's where fights come into play, and you just aren't satisfied with the person who you're with, and you feel like your financial situation is going to be better without them. So that leads to divorce and all kinds of other problems. So just think, if you had to look at your friends, if you had to look at your situation and most people around you, if their finances were in order, the chances are high that they would be a lot happier. They would be more content with life. They would not look so down as they do now. And small things wouldn't upset them. That's one of the important things that really happens to you once you get out of debt, once you have significant savings and you have a ongoing income. There's just cash inflow. Life is a lot more pleasant. That much I can tell you. I know what it's like to have been broke, no money, homeless, in debt, no savings. And I know what it's like to be debt free and have savings and have income. And it's a great feeling. That the latter is much better. So, how do you get to that point where you no longer have that financial stress, those burdens? Well, for me, I wanted to get to that destination as soon as possible. When I was homeless, when I was in $40,000 in debt, when I had no savings and no income, that's probably the worst part of it. If I had an income, at least that could help, but I didn't even have an income. So, how do you get to that point where you no longer feel burdened every single day, where the smallest thing doesn't set you off? Well, there were several things that I did. I didn't want to do just one thing and then risk it not working out. So let's say I made a strategy A, I developed the strategy and it didn't work out. Then like, what then? I wanted to optimize my options. I wanted to optimize the chances of my strategies working so that I'm financially free. I no longer have this burden. And so I sought out several ways to get out of debt, to build savings so that eventually I could be financially free and I would no longer have all this financial burden. Because that's what it is. When you say, oh, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that, it's mostly because of money. If there's a medical emergency that comes up and you're not able to fund it, that's because of that's financial distress. Just think about if you could just pay for the most expensive surgery when you need it, and you only have to worry about the outcome of the surgery as opposed to worrying about how you're going to even pay for the surgery. So that's why a lot of stress is financially related. So I wanted to have several strategies. I didn't want to rely on just one strategy and then it didn't work out. Then what must I start all over again and then lose that time that I put so much effort into? So I did several things. I wanted to optimize my chances of success. And I knew that I had to increase my income, right? I had to have more money coming in. This was once, once I'd gotten off the street and I had a job, it wasn't paying me enough to cover all of my debts. And I was just barely scraping by. I had food and could pay rent and so forth. But it wasn't enough. I wasn't getting to that place where I was free of stress. I still hadn't paid off most of my debts. So I knew that I had to increase my income. And one of the ways that I did it is through multiple streams of income. So I wanted to ensure that I would never be without an income again. Because what used to happen in the past is that I would have a job, then all of a sudden I'd lose it, and then I lose my income. And because that was the only source of income, I didn't have any money come in. And even when I became a freelance writer and I had one client, I would lose that client. Now I don't have any income anymore. That's not a situation that I wanted to be in. So what I did is I got several clients. And by getting more clients, obviously I increased my income, but I also reduced the risk of not being without an income. Because if I had 5 clients, I think at the time first I had one, and then I went on to have like three solid clients where they were just giving me continuous work. And there were times where I lost one, but I still had the 2 others who I was making a good income from. So although I felt a reduction in my income, a reduction is better than being completely wiped out, not having anything. So that small reduction, sure, it affected me, but it wasn't as bad as if I just one income stream, then I'd lost it. So getting more clients, getting multiple streams of income definitely helped me to have more money. So that was the one thing that I did, right? I'd increased my income, but increasing your income doesn't really help you if now all of a sudden you increase your expenses with that portion of the percentage increase. And that's usually what happens with most people because they haven't conditioned themselves to be savers, they're spenders. So spenders think, if I get additional income, then I'm going to solve all my problems. And that's just not the case because they usually find a way to spend that additional income. So they're always back at square one. They're always, regardless of how much money they make, how much their income increases, they're always living paycheck to paycheck because they spend all their money. And I knew that obviously it's not good enough for me to just increase my income. I need to, at most, keep my expenses as they are. So that additional income is actually additional income. It's not, it goes into savings and it's not spent. So I didn't increase my expenses as my income increased. And the other thing that I did is I decreased my expenses as my income increased. So I made a cash flow statement. What the difference between a cash flow statement and a budget is that a cash flow statement are actual figures. You gather your receipts for the month. For whatever, everything that you pay, you have to have receipts for, and then you enter them, whether it be into an app or an Excel spreadsheet, and you see your actual figures at the end of the month, what you're really spending, as opposed to a budget, which is forecasted, which is kind of guessed, it's estimates. Cash flow statement, actual figures, so you know what you're dealing with. And I went through each expense to see what I really needed. And if there was an expense that I didn't need, such as gym membership, as an example, instead of going to a gym, I'm going to train at home. I'm going to run around the neighborhood. I'm going to go to the park and use their facilities. So I don't need a gym membership. I don't need these subscriptions. I don't need new clothing for a while. I don't need to get takeouts. So those expenses are completely eliminated. And then even the ones that I needed, such as food, as an example, I looked for ways to save money on food. I no longer bought, high quality meat. I still bought meat, but it wasn't as high quality as before because I wanted to reduce my expenses. And that's not something that you have to do for the rest of your life. It's just something that you do until you're out of debt, until you have significant savings and you can actually afford that meat. So first thing I did, multiple streams of income. I increased my income to have more money coming in and to secure myself so that I don't have to worry about completely not having an income because I've lost a job or I've lost a client. So that was important. And then the other thing that I did, as my income was going up, my expenses were going down. So now that gap was just became even bigger between my income and my expenses, which meant larger savings. That's what it is. Higher income, fewer expenses means bigger savings. That's really what it is. So that was the two main things that I did, but then there was a third one. I knew that I didn't want to be in debt ever again. And I knew that you don't get out of a hole by digging it deeper. And for me, that meant that I had to stop taking out debt. Debt gives you some kind of relief. It gives you a temporary solution. You feel like you've got that breathing space. You've got room to breathe for a short term, but then payments start kicking in and now you have to pay this over a long period of time. So it's just more headaches. I didn't want more headaches. I wanted less headaches. I had now gotten rid of some financial distress by increasing my income. So my risk was less because of the multiple streams of income. And my expenses, so my income was more, and my expenses were less. Now, that definitely helped to alleviate my stress, but I still had this debt. So I stopped taking out more debt. I didn't want to have any more debt. And by taking on more debt, I was just going to be in a perpetual cycle of having more and more debt. I said, no more debt. Now that I've increased my income, I've decreased my expenses, I've got significant savings, I am going to start tackling this debt. I'm going to start paying it off. And I paid off this one, paid off the next one, paid off the third one. And so on it went until I eventually paid everything off. So you can imagine when I paid off my debt, how great I felt. I no longer had the stress of lawyers calling me, bombarding me every single day with phone calls, asking me, when are we getting our payment, Mr. Radanovic? It was so stressful. And I never want to go back to that period in my life ever again. So I increased my income, had several streams of income to secure myself, decreased my expenses, and then I started paying off debt. Once I'd paid off the debt, I had more money to dedicate to savings. And then that's when my savings just ballooned. Because I was no longer diverting this income to my creditors. It came in and it stayed in my account. It wasn't comes in, goes out to different creditors. No, stayed. Compound interest grew. That's what gave me a tremendous amount of relief in life. I was stress-free. Well, financially, I'd gotten rid of the financial stress. Other things obviously come up. That's just normal. But financially, financial stress was a lot less. Even after that, obviously, there were times where I didn't have an income. Now it happened where I started a new venture. Because it's new, it needed time for me to receive an income. Sure, there were those periods as well. But, what's important is that I found a way to get rid of that financial stress. I'm still working on it all the time. Financial stress crops up all the time. Even when you're debt free and you've got savings and you've got an income, you always want to accomplish more. You always want more. So it's normal to feel some level of financial stress, regardless of what your situation is, what standard of living you've got. It's completely normal because as human beings, we always want more. We should be grateful for what we've got, but we should always strive to have more. Be grateful for what you've got, and I'm grateful for what I have because it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm blessed, and I have a lot less financial stress now than what I did a few years ago when I was in debt. That much I can tell you. Feels good. Let's get to the article on finishfirstfinancially.com, how to overcome financial stress. Remember, I'm not a financial investment advisor. Nothing I say is financial investment advice. This is purely for entertainment purposes. It's up to you what you do with your money, your life, and so forth. I'm just sharing my experiences. So I said, The cost of living has increased exponentially in the last few years. Prices of certain items have doubled, and many people have more than one job to make ends meet. You might be working more just to get by and feel that there is no end in sight to your financial struggles. Bills are coming at you from all angles, and you don't have enough money to breathe. Enough money to breathe easily, not ease. I used to be there, so I know what it feels like. I was drowning in debt, and lawyers called me daily, threatening me with blacklistings, garnishes, and lawsuits. Some days, I spent an hour on the phone with them, making payment arrangements. I was stressed all the time, and I had no idea how to get out of the mess. I used to have terrible headaches because I was worried about being sued, incurring more expenses for lawyers, and having my name tarnished financially. Hairs on the back of my neck used to stand up when my phone rang. I dreaded talking to my creditors. That lasted for several years until I paid all of them. Now I'm debt free and I've got savings. How did I do it? So the first thing I did is I made a plan. Everything begins with your thoughts. When you ask yourself for a solution, your brain begins to seek answers. I asked myself, how was I going to overcome financial stress? And my brain came up with several suggestions. The first one was earn more. To extinguish a growing fire, you need a bigger extinguisher. In your case, that means a larger income to offset the increased cost of living. At the peak of my financial stress, I was doing freelance writing for an American company. The pay wasn't bad, but definitely not enough to cover all my loan payments. I was also paid weekly, and I couldn't wait for the money to come through so I could buy food. Okay, now that I think about it again, the pay was bad. I was definitely struggling financially. After I finished my task for the day with the one client I had, I spent the rest of the day looking for other clients. Looking for more work became my part-time job. And this is what you actually have to do when you are looking for more income. You get your job out, the work that you need to do for the day, you get that out the way, you do it. And then for the rest of the day, you start looking for more work. So searching for higher income, more income, another job becomes your part-time job. This is what you have to do until you secure more work. So you need to dedicate yourself to finding more work. It's not just a thing, oh, well, if it comes by. No, you need to actually make a concerted effort. You need to be active. You need to be out there. You need to be on the online job boards. You need to be talking to people. You need to find that extra income. You need to be highly active. So I said, after I finished my task for the day with the one client I had, I spent the rest of the day looking for other clients. Looking for more work became my part-time job. I was relentless at finding more work because I knew that a higher income would help me to cover all my expenses, enable me to begin paying my creditors. That would alleviate a lot of stress I felt. It took me about a month since starting my search to find a good paying client. Suddenly, I was in a much better spot. Not only could I cover all my expenses and pay my creditors, I had money left over at the end of the month. 2 or so months later, I found another client. Instead of relying on one client for an income, I had 3. And when the first client stopped giving me work, I wasn't stressed about losing that income because I had 2 other income sources, which paid me better. If you have a full-time job, you need to ask your employer for overtime. If that's not feasible, get a part-time job. You can also look for a higher paying full-time job, but that can take several months. You need an immediate solution. So also work a part-time job while you find a better paying full-time job. Work at night for a few hours or on weekends. I know it's going to be exhausting. When I was in my early 20s, I worked a full-time office job and weekends at a music store. So I was working 7 days a week. I didn't take a day for like 3 months. And I actually got sick because I was just working so time. I was so exhausted, my body couldn't take it. I was exhausted, but I managed to save a nice chunk of change. Rather be tired and have money than sick and tired, stressed and broke. Yeah. Let me say that again. Rather be tired and have money than sick and tired, stressed and broke. Reduce your expenses. So this was the second thing that I did. It's not good enough just to earn more money. If you're a spender, you've conditioned yourself to spend. So you're likely to spend additional income, and that will leave you back at square one. You have to reduce your expenses so that you have excess money at the end of the month. The more money you have left over, the less stressed you'll be. Isn't that the truth? Because money provides you with freedom. That's what it is. Provides you with freedom. The more freedom you have, the less stressed you are, the happier you are. Believe me. There are certain expenses, such as your loan payments, that you may not be able to reduce, but you can reduce most of the other expenses, if not eliminate them altogether. Some of those expenses include video streaming services, gym memberships, eating out, buying clothes, and taking vacations. You can reduce your housing expense by renting out one of your rooms, or if you're a single person, you can rent a room instead of paying for a full apartment. Here's one that will shock many people to their core. Sell your car and use public transport instead. I know, I've offended you, right? Some people are so attached to their cars that their entire self-image is based on the car they drive. That's one of the reasons they take out vehicle finance. They want that car so badly that they're prepared to go into debt for it. And then it just leads to more and more debt. They want the status of driving a nice car. If you want to know how much your car is costing you monthly, add the monthly payments, gas insurance, maintenance and repairs, car washes and registration to get the total cost. Imagine not having all of those costs, how much money you will save. Just think about it. My car cost me 30% of my income. When I was working in finance and I had all sorts of debt and I was driving a BMW, spending 30% of my income. Think about that. If I'd saved that 30% every single month, how much I would have at the end of the year over several years. It's crazy. But what can you do? You need to make those mistakes in order to correct them and never go back to them again. And that's exactly what happened to me. So no more crazy amounts spent on cars, that much I can tell you. Okay, so what did I say? Your goal should be to incur expenses. Your goal should be to incur expenses only crucial to survival. That is housing, food, utilities, and transportation. Everything else is a luxury item if you really think about it. That's true. That's because, those are what I call essential expenses. Your housing, whether it's rental, mortgage, utilities, your water, electricity, and so forth, and then transportation to get to work. Those are your only crucial expenses. Everything else is luxury. Everything else. So that's really the minimalist lifestyle, which is what I adopted for several years, which helped me to get out of debt quicker, and to save up money. And to a large extent, I still live the minimalist lifestyle. The other thing I did, which was the third thing, remember, increase income. Second thing, decrease expenses. Then no more debts is the third one. So I wrote, you don't get out of a hole by digging it deeper. Don't add expenses you can't afford on a credit card. Even worse, don't take out a personal loan or a home equity line of credit, HELOC, to fund them. Although you might feel temporary relief by using a financial institution's money, remember that you have to pay it back. That is likely to compound your headaches. So as I said, debt provides you with some short-term relief, gives you some room to breathe, feels good in the short term, but in the long run, just adds more headaches, and it's not nice. The less debt you have, the more freedom you enjoy. Imagine having a fully paid house and vehicle. Those are likely to be your biggest expenses, and not having them will leave you with a lot of money at month end. I should have said at the end of the month. That sounds a lot better. But the way to pay off your debt faster is by having multiple streams of income and reducing your expenses. And so those are the two things that are extremely important to do: increase your income, decrease your expenses. This is all, nothing here is rocket science stuff. I think it's a good reminder. I think people need to be reminded of it. And it's something that helped me, and I think it can help a lot of people. So that's it for today. How to overcome financial stress. Obviously, I try to do the live streams Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me. We're still at 0 viewers, unfortunately. Hopefully, something will change in the near future. But I'm just going to keep doing this and keep adding value, and hopefully something great comes from it until we can eventually have a big enough audience where people are calling in and we listen to their financial worries and hopefully provide them with solutions. So until tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll be able to do it in that slot. I will check you then, and remember to save money.